order. We will begin with the pledges of allegiance done by Councilwoman Duarte.
To the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
We're going to open up with our speaker session. But before we start with our speaker session, I just want to bring attention to the two exits. One's in the front, one's in the back. We would also ask the gentlemen to remove their hats if they're wearing them. And please silent your cell phones because we have a lot of people speaking, and I would not like your cell phones to go off while other people are speaking. I just find that to be disturbing. Also, we will have, every speaker will have 4 minutes to speak. At the third minute, you will hear the buzzer, then you'll have 1 more minute to wrap up whatever it is that you have to say. So, okay, so at this time we'll start with Thomas Keller.
I didn't realize I was the first one. I guess I signed up for it since I signed up yesterday. Thomas Keller, 12 Pasadena Place, 10552. I was going in the city on a train to attend an investment conference. I guess you all saw this, right? Today's Journal News. Everybody, readers in school money to pay the bills. It's too bad this got out. It was known over the last few weeks. Matter of fact, I'm on the budget committee in school, and I asked them a couple of weeks ago, can you lend the money to the city for a short period of time, maybe 30 days? And they said, well, I'll have to look into it, but we're meeting with the controller on Friday. This was like 2 weeks ago. What an embarrassment. Why didn't the mayor call a meeting of the Board of Estimate on the 15th of November? I think it says that in the charter. And if you call the meeting, the city council president doesn't come, and the controller doesn't come, you at least call the meeting, get the thing started. The new city council president came in on January 2nd. Why didn't he call the meeting January 3rd? This is ridiculous. I come home tonight and open up my computer and I get a rant about Deborah Reynolds. 4-page rant. She's like the worst thing around. He wants Tom DiNapoli to come down here and remove her? How about when Tom DiNapoli does an audit of the Industrial Development Authority and the Urban Renewal Agency and the city? The budget was mismanaged last year. I understand you could have settled with Gizzo for $800,000, $4.2 million. Then he knocks down the tennis thing. Guy's suing us for millions of dollars. And we got a bunch of other lawsuits. Too bad he vetoed. If in fact Deborah Reynolds is using school money, good for her. The bills are being paid. The school will get paid. We have $60 million coming in when the tax bills go out. First half, $30 million. Second half, $30 million. And the school district gets about $134 million from the state, from taxpayers, and they get about $100 million from the state. 75 is foundation aid. The other 25 is targeted aid, like transportation. They spend it 1 year to get it next year. I don't know when they get their money in from the state, but they can probably afford to lend money to the city. Charge us 10%, 6%, whatever it is, and they can go to a bank and get a tax anticipation notes. They do that all the time with construction. They're called band anticipation notes, until they fund it permanently with 15 or 20-year money. Please pass the budget. Override the mayor tonight. We don't have any extra time. And make it unanimous, Ms. Duarte. Not 4-1, 5-0. So people can start getting paid without problems. Even now, the controller probably can't get the tax bills out for another week, so it's going to be March 31st. Do we want to not miss the payrolls? You don't want the state to come in. Look what's happened in Nassau County and Yonkers over the Roosevelt School District. As the city council president said a couple of weeks ago, when they come in, none of us have anything to say about it. They lay the laws out. They can increase taxes 10% if they want. You know, looking back on it, I guess it's easy to criticize, but why didn't this body collectively go to Gary Pretlow, Jamal Bailey, Lyndon Williams, David Tubiolo, Latimer, people like that, Carl Hastie, Stuart Cousins, and say, would you please try to influence this mayor to move things along or pass November 15th? Look what happened with the $5 million grant for Memorial Field. Hastie in the assembly said, unless the county controls things, you're not getting the $5 million. So he had no choice. He was up there with 15 people, 15 Democrat leaders, and the alternative was that if he didn't agree to it, he was turning away $5 million. Well, he signed it. Then he tried to put the best face forward on it. All right, thank you. Please override tonight.
Brent Sully.
Here to speak in support of the environmental testing rezoning for the 3rd Street corridor. I would like to see support for that. It'd be great if the rezoning happen so that we could see new projects get done. It would be good for Mount Vernon, put Mount Vernon in the right direction. Having a nice quality residential building or buildings would be a good thing for the city. You see what's happening in our neighboring cities. It's been like that for 30+ years. So I think it would be a great thing if you guys support the rezoning process. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Trevor McLean.
Good evening, council members. I'm Trevor McLean, South Ninth Avenue. First of all, I just want to thank the council for taking care of the parking problem we have in South Ninth Avenue. The Block Association is very appreciative. We have no problems right now. I'm not sure what will happen in the future, but as of right now, we don't have big trucks parked almost in the driveways. I'd just like to focus briefly on the fact that Mount Vernon comparatively is just doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I look at New Russia. Russia's growing like crazy. I look at White Plains, they're growing, and we're in the middle, a very nice location, but we just not doing anything. We taxpayers and homeowners, we have a tremendous problem with taxes. You know, we are just not getting any support from businesses because apparently the ratio of business residents is just not right. I'm not sure the dynamics there, but I just know that our taxes just keep going up and up and up, and we're not having any kind of development that will allow us to be able to share that burden. So in terms of the rezoning of West 3rd Street or the entire 3rd Street, I'd like to encourage the council to pay special attention because this is an opportunity to have people or have buildings maybe created or built that will allow for people of substantially better incomes coming in, as opposed to just low-income people who cannot afford to pay taxes. So I just like to encourage the council to give it your best and ensure that we can do at least some development in that area so that we can benefit from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stefan Rita. Okay, we'll come back to him. I don't see him there. Glenn Harris.
I'm looking at all of you tonight, I want to say Mom's out of the room. It's great to see the heritage is reflected here. Good evening, Council. Glenn here is 629 South 6th Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Wallace. What you saw a couple of weeks ago is what you should expect that's going to happen down the road. This gentleman here, Mr. Griffith, raised his hand today about how dubious Mount Vernon is when it comes to character assassination. Man is accredited. ran for controller, but the little rumor started about him that there was something wrong with him. There's always this underlying ugly that is just there for distraction. Last week was the character assassination of a woman who's elected as a controller. I remember Deborah Reynolds having fights with the mayor when he was a council member, for those that were here, about this whole thing about the budget, because she said, let's put a cap. A cap meant a fixed number, whether it was 2, 3, or 5%, where it wasn't some outrageous raise. But the people who came in this room and 8 of your time disrespected you, and they ran past the allotted time to allow them to speak, because they're just puppets and characters who have no consequences when it comes to actually working for Mount Vernon. They haven't said nothing about the order that's being dragged in place when we have a man who could have done the budget with the controller and told us where the leaks and the money could be found at. But oh no, we keep paying all these foreign bodies as agents of duplicities because we have dupes that work inside City Hall that live in Mount Vernon. We're at the edge. No, we're over the edge of the precipice when it comes to taxes that will destroy us. But nobody suggested that we sit down with council, the mayor, and the controller, and the school board. I'm glad Ms. Keller brought that up. I said that for years. We need to start kicking the teeth into the school board and how they just grab and eat up our money without a good damn about whether the taxpayers survive it. You go past the school, everybody's got a BMW, Mercedes-Benz, whatever, so they're not struggling, but the damn students are struggling. So where in the money are they going to fight us on this matter about how we save ourselves? And going back to the mayor, I wish people stop referring to him as Little Richie. He's no longer Little Richie. He's Richard Thomas, the mayor. That SOB was a football player. He's strong as hell. He could take a verbal beating because he survived playing football. Those of you who really knew the mayor, that he played football. So we got a bunch of tough guys toughing it out and not taking a care about where the money's going to come from and who is going to get locked off. I said we need to go to businesses and renegotiate with them in regards to how much taxes that we're paying. I didn't say chase them out of Mount Vernon or kill them, but tell them they have to do what our grandparents told us was a way to understand this life. Pay your freight. They need to pay more than the freight of taxes. We need to stop bonding out $1 billion corporations that come here and we don't look at the beauty. I could fall down in Mount Vernon. I don't hit a train, bus, or whatever smoking in and out of Mount Vernon, so nobody's going to get lost or can't get out of here. We got the subways in 2 areas. We got Metro North in 2 areas. I could get on a bus in Mount Vernon and wind up in Far Rockaway. That's how well connected we are. But we don't sell those points. We always come with this dubious hacking and beating up. I despise everyone who spoke harsh against Deborah Reynolds because they treated her like she was a foreign body. Deborah Reynolds is us. We all are born and raised in this town. We don't have to go outside to get anyone, but yet we do these dubious attacks to destroy us because maybe that's what we've always done in Mount Vernon, is destroy us before we give us a chance. I would never have gone past Mr. Griffith for anything if he wasn't there to count the numbers. He doesn't have to hold my hand and walk me down the block, but I damn sure that when he gives a report, I'm going to know where every dime is. It's about character assassination. I know you folks miss Sammy Rivers. Mr. Rivers never came in here with a lie on his tongue. He delivered the facts. Mr. Clark is here. He's the up and down beat on Mr. Clark because he told the truth about the stupidity up on the hill about wasted money at the school. This man sacrificed a child to Mount Vernon, but yet they kept beating on Mr. Clark because he kept saying, you jackasses are spending money that is not yours. You're losing money that is not yours. We never pay attention to the people who have the whole. Mr. Keller and this other gentleman in the back, we were here fighting with the school board 35 years ago.
Thank you, Mr.
We need to stop fighting each other, sit down, make a settle together, get together, and save us, because if we go down, everybody goes down. Thank you for the overtime.
Common Leader Ned.
Carmen, you had 4th Hancock Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. I'm just here to say to all council members, Mr. Marcus Griffins, Mr. Wallace, and I realize that Mrs. Farvis is not here tonight, everyone else, to say thank you guys for the buses that were moved from South Fulton Avenue by the fire department. I came here a couple of times, three times, this is my fourth time here, and everyone on my block told me I could not do it, that it's not gonna get done permanently because you can't hold the city all the way. I said, if it's by myself, I'm gonna fight it. So I'm here to say thank you guys so much, especially Mr. Wallace and Mr. Griffins. Thank you so much. I'm going back to work. I was here to fight. So when the bus moved now, I'm just here to say thank you. And one more thing I have to say, Mr. Wallace, I know you're running for council member again, especially also mayor, because I go to the meeting at the Democrat meeting. Anyways, I want to say to you, sir, with my consent, if I'm not home or you pass on my block, you're running for anything, mayor, whatever you're doing, you could put a sign, I give you the consent to put on my front lawn. Thank you again. I'm going back to work. God bless all of you guys. Many thanks. Thank you.
Henry Sully.
And I'm happy. The bus is moved from Fulton Avenue.
Henry Stalin, 20 Lexington Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. Mr. President, members of the City Council, Mr. Brown, Ms. Carter, I'm here this evening just to enlighten you and little things I'm sure that you might know, but I just want to reinforce. For example, when we say the word rezoning, it's a positive word. It means that someone, somewhere within the city wants to build. And as far as I can remember, nothing is wrong with that. Personally, I think Mount Vernon, the entire Mount Vernon neighborhood, where is commercial, residential, should be rezoned. Should be. You go to New Rochelle, and every street that you walk and you look, a building is going up. It's going up, and it's going up fast. I don't think the investors that are building in New Rochelle go through just this type of process that we gotta go through here. You ask for rezoning, it's being vetoed, you gotta come back. It takes so much effort. It's amazing. It's amazing what we have to go through. Take a look at the south side of Mount Vernon, which of course is part of Mount Vernon. People are referring to Mount Vernon, the north side is Fleetwood. The south side is Mount Vernon also. And if you look back, maybe 20 or 30 years, take a good look. There's not one new structure of market rate building on the south side of Mount Vernon. Take a good look. And we talk about tax base, we have to educate ourselves. And I'm reminding you, members of the City Council, Mr. President, that is one Mount Vernon. What is going on in the north should be going on the south. So when an investor comes in and wants to revitalize the southern part of Mount Vernon, he shouldn't have any hassle. Take a look at 3rd Street. Take a good look. And you should really, really look at it and say, wait a minute. An investor wants to come in and to put his money out, to make 3rd Street what it's supposed to be, not what it is now. And he has to wait and wait and wait many years. And guess what happens sometimes? They leave. They walk away. They have lost interest in doing anything in Mount Vernon. It is so bad. Old people don't want to come to Mount Vernon. Many you don't realize it, but it's so. We can do better. And I'm here appealing to you members of the City Council to look at rezoning in a more positive light. If you do, we'll have a better place, our tax base will increase, and we'll move forward. Thank you. Yes, yes, I am.
Good evening, everybody, City Council President. My name is Woody Victor. I'm representing the developers who are partnered for a contract with the City of Mount Vernon to develop, to rezone the 3rd Street corridor. We have a contract and we've honored our end of the contract. We placed about $250,000, spent approximately $250,000 to help facilitate this endeavor. There are millions of dollars that are waiting to come flood in to invest in this corridor for something we came together on several years ago. It's been about 5 years we've been working on this rezoning. Mount Vernon West, around the same time, their rezoning already happened. So unfortunately, this process, for whatever reason, and I'm not here to play politics, has been kind of collateral damage from some of the infighting back and forth, some of the dysfunction, some of the inertia, inefficiency between the various groups in government here. And again, so I don't want to necessarily play politics, but as an investor, as a developer, the group that we're working with, they've developed in infrastructure in developing countries, third world countries, and have been way more dysfunctional than, you know, a city in the United States of America. And they come to me and say, I've never seen this level of just bottlenecks and dysfunction. They've developed millions of square feet in Bronx, Harlem, downtown, all over, you name it. And they want to bring more money to the city of Mount Vernon. But somehow we're getting caught in terms of, you know, positions not being funded, budgets not being approved. So whether or not you guys approve this budget or override the veto, we still want to work with Mount Vernon to get this thing through because we've funded it, we've allocated the money. There's money sitting in escrow to push things forward, to get Zarin and Steinmetz here to review the proposal that we worked all last year on after rebooting this project, after taking over from the last developers who grew tired, who had fatigue with dealing with the city of Mount Vernon. We still, I don't know what it is, I guess we're stubborn, we're sons of immigrants, I'm from the Bronx, we're trying to get something happen. We want to make something happen for the city of Mount Vernon. So we'd like to work with you guys, if not via this override or this veto, for whatever reason, at least let's push forward what we need to with this attorney, Zarin Steinmetz, to review the findings that Ferrandino worked on. Let's get this passed so that we can go about our business and develop the city of Mount Vernon that we know we can build. There's money waiting. I have one of the investors here who has done business in Pakistan, all over the world, all over the country, and he's a quiet, humble man and wants to do right by the city of Mount Vernon because we all know there's so much potential here, but we can't get caught up in some of the back and forth that we can see in here. So continue to close, yeah. So to close, there's money sitting in escrow. We funded. We've probably spent another $1 million in terms of taxes that have gone to the city of Mount Vernon. Architecturals, mastermind development. They couldn't be here tonight. They also developed millions of square feet in the Bronx. We don't want to see this go forward. If you do not override this veto, which would work out for us, at least let's get the process moved forward as quickly as possible so that we can get this thing going. Or else we're going to have to find another solution to this. Thank you.
Cheryl Crawford.
Cheryl Crawford, 113 North 10th Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, 10550. Good evening, Council. I'm here in support of rezoning here in our city of Mount Vernon, 3rd Street area, our South Side area. When I have this vision of my city that I've lived here over 30 years, I vision an exodus of millennials coming into the city where they can have apartments, housing, shops that they can shop at that's feasible to their lifestyle, and also to a community that can welcome all different kinds of people. and not only focus on one area of Mount Vernon, but the entire area, which includes our 3rd Street area and our south side. So I'm here in support of new life, bringing new businesses, new buildings, new homes, so we can attract a new generation of people that would love this city and would maybe love to invest in our city. But we need to think about rezoning and the areas that needs to be rezoned. Our 3rd Street area, which can be beautiful. Not saying that it's not beautiful, but let's do some rezoning so we can make it even more beautiful. So we can have people that can love our city, and the people that are here can contribute as well and be a part of what the exodus is in Mount Vernon. Thank you.
Noel Mitchell.
Mr. President, council members, good evening. My name is Noel Mitchell. I live at 323 Hussey Road, right in Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is comprised of 3 independent elected branches of government. The mayor is the CEO, city council, and of course the controller. Mount Vernon is a city that is divided. Problem is that none of these branches get along with each other. That's the problem. Mount Vernon is polarized, divisive, and dysfunctional. And that is no way to run a government, to run a city. There's no way, no, and has to stop. Mount Vernon is a gold mine. We're 25 minutes away from Manhattan. We have access to 7 million parkways, major airports. Mount Vernon is a gold mine. And we, the Mount Vernon, should put our differences aside and work together. That's my choice. For all 3 branches to get together, put our differences aside, work together, and move the city forward. Because, for example, let's visit Memorial Field for a moment, which has become a lightning rod, and rightly so. I want to ask a question, very simple question. Do you think any one of our neighboring cities, Pelham, Marinette, Archmont, Bronxville, do you think if the city and the county gave them money to improve the field or stadium in 2010, would you think it would done by now? I think so. I was thrown out of Memorial Field in the summer of 2010. Now it's 2019. Look at it. It's a disgrace. I'm ashamed to pass by there. We should have left it the way it is in 2010. But it's still in use. But now look at it. It's an eyesore. A total disgrace. Shame. My next issue is rezoning. Well, we're trying, as far as we're concerned, there's no south side and north side of Mount Vernon. There's on one side, Mount Vernon. And I'm saying to you, a building was erected on 3rd Street and 3rd Avenue a couple years ago, on a public building. Meters on that same 3rd Street, meters left from that building, we're trying to put in a building, and we are about zoning issue. We want progress in Mount Vernon, the same street, the same 3rd Street, a building is proposed to erect there, and we are about rezoning. Excuse me, a block from there is a big building. At 3rd Avenue and Columbus, a big building, 1 block from that site, and we are about rezoning. Please vote for that rezoning change. Please, it's progress. Don't vote against progress. Please, to the council. You want to vote, you gotta vote to put up that building, because that means progress. Don't vote against progress. Okay? And let's move forward. Thanks very much for your time and for listening.
Thank you. Winston Clark.
Mr. President, council members, citizens and taxpayers of Moline. My name is Vernon Clark. I reside at 1 Kingsbridge Plaza on Vernon, New York. I'm a resident of Mount Vernon for the past 47 years. I come to most meetings. I attend most things in Mount Vernon. Sometimes I think I attend more things than the people we elect to represent us. The house I live in is over 150 years old. And I've spent about $80,000 to renovate it and keep it in good shape. I don't even need that amount of square footage now because I raised my family. This weekend past, the wind was about 40 miles an hour and more. And it affected me. I was out of energy for 17 hours. The property where the tree that's been deteriorating, and it took me 3 years to find out who owned that property. Coming here month after month and speaking about it, and it's owned by the city. I called them many times to clean it up because it was like a fire. The trees deteriorated so badly that Sunday night it fell and break the electric lights and cord from my house. I checked with most of my neighbors and they had temporary flashing and the light came on. Mine didn't come on until 17 hours after. And I had to make errands here to City Hall, speak with the commissioners, because when I called Cornelius, they told me it was my responsibility. One of the poles broken through, and one of the poles need to come down. The commissioners that I spoke to, Mr. Jones in the building department and the commissioner in DPW, did do better than I ever got in all the years I'm living here. And the commissioner from DPW said, Mr. Clark, I will need to buy your house. And on his way to my house, there was a fire at Johnson Avenue and East Kingsbridge Road. Big fire. But yet he made it there. And he saw what I was talking about. And he knew some of the men from Cornelius, and he spoke to them, and they said to him and me, you'll be getting light tonight, Mr. Clark, which I got 5:30 Monday night. It was temporary, and it's still temporary. But the wires came down again. The light didn't go up. Cornelius came back and hooked it up temporary, and I have lights. The tree cutters from DPW, they came and they took care of the tree. They did a good job. But those trees, I've been talking about them for years. They are defective. If those trees were cut down, we wouldn't have had that disaster. Years ago, I don't know if all of you remember, somebody used to go around and inspect the trees. And they had a can where they would make a yellow X and they would get to those trees. I keep telling the council, you don't do immediate supervision. But there need to be some policies and some change for the betterment of Mount Vernon. You need a project manager who goes around and see all these stuff that's happening and work with the departments and make the proper reports. It's a waste of money with window dressing. The street that was paved on Kingsbridge Road, this morning, people from DPW was patching potholes. This was just put down in the summer. It's a recycled new stuff. These things should be investigated and go in other areas where these things are done and see the quality of the stuff. Just to show, make a show for us like something is doing, that's a waste of money. You got to manage. I'm going to close up. Kingsbridge Garden where I live with all the other residents. We don't give you no expense on no property. We don't have no crime around here. We take care of our homes. You can put that on the TV to show how we keep up that area. The streets have not been paved for over 35 years. And developers come in and get all kind of lives, 10, 20, 30 years without paying taxes. We are still paying, and I'm on fixed income and I'm paying double-digit taxes. And I have to go through this out of life for 17 years. I'm glad for the help that I got, because the next thing would have happened, the pipes would have been frozen, and I would have a lot more damage. Council members, you don't have constituency, you have the whole Mount Vernon. It's not like New York City. When you look at the result last night, for the advocate, Williams got most of the vote in Brooklyn and Manhattan, and the Republican candidate got in Staten Island and whatever. But you can tell its constituency, give them the vote to win. Mount Vernon, you're responsible for the entire Mount Vernon. You need to drive around in some of these neighborhoods. Don't let us come here talking all the while, and come and observe what's happening, and then you can speak to the commissioner and whatever, and maybe change the charter as people are saying. There need to be a lot of changes, because what is happening now is not working.
Thank you. We'll go back to Stefan Ritter.
Stefan Ritter, 252 Garden Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. But as you know, I represent 241 South Ninth Avenue, and that's the projects. Every time we come here, as y'all are council people, you'll say nothing at all for the community, nothing. So you don't have the right to even be running for a mayor when you sued Andre or you sued Butch, and then you sued the city for $300,000. I'm talking to you, President Andre. Everything that you're doing as a council board is nothing concerning the community. And that's why I'm here to represent. I'm running for mayor also on the independent. And these are the articles of the penalties that you violated on your own code of 360. These are yours. Any provisions or violations, any of the city code of Mount Vernon, unless otherwise specifically provided by the penal law, for which no other penalty is provided, by you are guilty of the offenses and shall be punishable or fines to $250,000 or imprisonment. You have a mayor that's been indicted for I don't know how long, and you haven't done anything at all about it, but you're talking about representing this town, and now you're trying to bring a city, and the 68,000 is the population total supposed to be, and you're well over it. And you're all affiliated with the same operation that's a violation to each and every one of us. We have people coming from all over this planet, and they don't belong here, and even if they do come here, then my grandfather had 40 acres. Your grandmother and father had 40 acres. That's 140 acres that they all shared. That's why in your Genesis on 28, it tells you that we all have dominion over the air, land, sea, birds, and everything else, the seed of its seed and the kind of its kind. So we know that if you're going on a religious level, then only the rejected and the despised is the only one worthy to be presented up for our own possessions of our land. 3rd Street, everywhere, all over this. We was raised here, and while we were raised here, it wasn't made people. We were raised independent. We was independent individuals. We all had our share, our wealth. And now, all of a sudden, we come back and nobody getting it because y'all are the ones giving it to people who doesn't even speak English correctly. And then you have us that do know that are residents, not citizens, residents. State, I'm a 2-time New York State Federation champion from Mount Vernon High School. Mount Vernon Knights. That flag that y'all represent, that is a flag for the United States military, man. I'm a private general from the United States Marine Corps. Y'all pledge allegiance to this flag. Some of you don't. But then you disrespect everything about it. We don't get veteran benefits. We don't do nothing. Y'all don't do nothing for the community because y'all are civilians. And the people are coming here to make you think that the land don't belong to us. So when you realize that the land is yours and you sell it your own left-hand pocket and right-hand pocket, you don't have any hands to give back to the rest of the people who deserve the property of the land in which we all are entitled to. And this is not right for any of us who's coming from these projects or coming from anywhere in Mount Vernon as a resident. 56 years old, my birthday was yesterday. And I'm just saying that I done been all over the world and back, 3 different colleges, I done did everything. I'm a 5-star McDonald's All-American, so you pledging American. But we are Negroes. We are a Negro League, we have our own Negro anthem, we have all of our own things that y'all are taking away. And then you have me coming here to teach you this, and you still doing it as if you're trying to win a game like y'all could win without the truth. So when you're looking in this religion, you're looking at Moses' time, you're looking at Muhammad, Jesus, Jehovah, whoever they are, they got us. And they dead and their time been over. So we are the new generation in which this generation is not trying to live under the cap that y'all have us trying to live under because it's a violation to our natural souls. We was taught in the schools, y'all are talking about white man, black man, you was born a child. We ain't born colors. Black is the triple stages of darkness, blind, deaf, and dumb. So when you call yourself black and I'm looking at you like, you're my sister or you're my brother, you're not black. You're not white. We went to school with them. How is they white? Those was our teachers, some of them.
Thank you, Stefan.
And then you're disrespecting everything when Mary had a little lamb and it was white as snow. Y'all better know what you're doing and stop playing with our lives because this is our lives. And if you was praying and worshiping for a Savior to come, and when he come, you up here disrespecting it as if you can stop the sun from shining. Y'all all are in violation for this. Peace and blessings.
Tyrone Vanderbilt. Tyrone Vandenberg. Tyrone Vandenberg. Okay, so that completes our speaker session. Right now, we will go into our answer by the council. We'll start with Councilwoman Copeland. You will keep it real short. Okay. Councilwoman Duarte.
Thank you, President Wall. Thank you to all the members of the community for joining us this evening and here or over Facebook. And thank you, Jeannie Heston, for continuing to support this effort. We appreciate you. There were several speakers that came tonight to as well as rezoning. Mr. Keller, I appreciate your passion. I know numbers are your thing, and you understand them really well. I thought I expressed myself during the last vote that I'm troubled by a budget that increases taxes and doesn't fund our top priorities. And that was the basis for my vote. You offered a solution even in your comments, the tax anticipation notes, if that is what's needed to provide more time so that a proper budget can be developed. Not much has changed with regards to budget. But I nonetheless appreciate your comments, and I appreciate the passion that you bring to it. Brent Sully, Carol McLean, Mr. Henry Sully, Woody Victor, Cheryl Crawford, Noel Mitchell, you all leave comments regarding rezoning. Ever since I ran for office, one of the major parts of my platform was making sure that we put resources towards getting a comprehensive plan. And yes, rezoning is a necessity. We need to rezone. I'm comfortable with rezoning in a patchwork manner without the context of a comprehensive plan to inform and guide it. Nonetheless, I think it's very important what you are doing because you're a local investor, and I value that tremendously. And I respect it because you're putting money back into your community. I want to support that. And I want to do it in the right way. So that is what I represent to my colleagues, and is what guides me in this process. So I just want to let you know that I appreciate very much your efforts and your investment. It's highly valuable and much encouraging. Mr. Glenn Harris, I agree with you that there really is no room for negativity and character assassination. It just is noise. It doesn't give us the opportunity or the space to have an intelligent discussion and a respected and informed discussion about the actual issues that we're dealing with, because the issues are serious. And working together to find the appropriate solutions is where the energy needs to be invested. So I agree with you that any effort to deviate from that is a disservice to this community. So my commitment has always been, and my promise has always been, to stay focused on the facts and to stay focused on the issue, and trying to look at the bigger picture. Sometimes getting lost in the details can even misguide us. But always trying to take that step back and pause for a moment just to see what that bigger picture is and what the end goals are, and making decisions based on that, and trying to work together with those same goals in mind. So I appreciate your comments. Ms. Ned, thank you so much for coming and providing an update. And I'm glad that my council colleagues were able to even see you, Ms. Ned, you're still here. But nonetheless, appreciate the update, appreciate my colleagues and everyone who helped her achieve what she was looking for, and certainly we appreciate the compliments. Mr. Clark, I thank you for coming tonight. I always take time to listen to you because you do provide actually a lot of historical background and even some base and foundation for some of the issues that you raise with us. And that's important because that helps me provide context to what it is that you're asking or that you're informing us about. So I just want to say I appreciate very much you and in the way that you present and to articulate yourself. I'm sorry that the high winds this weekend did cause an issue and really the trees. We do need to take a look again at the tree ordinance and what resources are needed in order for us to be able to make sure that this community does have healthy trees and that we are not suffering as a result because we're not maintaining them or taking care of them in the same way that you take care of your home. And so, yes, we definitely need to revisit that. And I am 100% behind you regarding charter changes. I think you do need to invest into looking at our charter holistically and identifying where we need to update, where the charter falls short in terms of addressing some of the issues and concerns and quality of life issues in the community. So yes, that's one of my initiatives this year is to try to kick off that process and work on that. And Stefan Ritter, thank you very much for your service. Thank you so much tonight for coming and sharing your concerns, and happy belated birthday. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Griffith.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everybody. Good to see you all this evening. As Councilwoman Duarte said, we kind of had two areas of concern, mainly the budget. Mr. Keller, still here? Yes, he is. Good to see you, sir. Excellent points in the budget. I voted will vote to override the mayor's veto of the budget. He came to our work session the other night and I kept saying it is March. So we have no more time really. I did work on the budget extensively. I forfeited a very valuable weekend for me to work on the budget. And most of the work that I worked on was pretty much dumped away. And I've worked on budgets, this is my, I think, 10th year working on the city's budgets. So I understand your point. To make the decision to go forward with the budget that is clearly flawed by large numbers is a very high decision that we're making because the city needs cash flow. We need to bring in cash so that we can pay some things up. All the other issues that are flawed in the budget, I believe can be resolved. It's going to take more work from this council to pass legislation that could have been set in the annual budget. But at this stage, it being March with no cash flow coming in, it is best to override this mayor's veto. And delaying it any longer is only costing our city more time. During the budget process, there was a lot of training that needed to be done for a lot of people in the city. New executives, people that don't understand certain budget concepts. And I've also explained to people that you could be a very high-end CFO at a major corporation, but you have to understand how the city works to be able to delve in to understand what some items are. For example, capital projects versus general fund versus the annual budget. We have different buckets of money. If you don't understand those concepts, you don't understand which bucket you're relating to. We've had a real issue where somebody high up in the administration was very confused with the difference between the contingency fund versus the overlay for uncollected taxes. They thought it was the same number. So when one was changed one place, they thought it was changed another place, and that each one of those items just happened to be $1 million each, and they just assumed that since they were both $1 million, they were both the same thing. But they're not the same thing. They have totally different reasons for what they're for. So a lot of work was done, and the high decision, the intelligent decision from this council is to pass a budget that's flawed. And I pray that we move forward and override the mayor's veto so we can begin to get those tax collections in place. So Mr. Keller, thank you very much for your review of it. Once again, we are in agreement when it comes to budgetary matters. Thank you. As far as zoning is concerned, I've been 10 years on the council or so. I think for 6 years, or maybe 4 years, I was chair of finance and planning. And I am very interested in getting a comprehensive plan done. It is one of the reasons why I was appointed to the council back in 2008, was the drive to get the comprehensive plan done. I believe we can get it done if we begin working on it now, so that it can be done for early next year, if we do it right. But we need the support of this council, and we need the support of the mayor's office and his staff, including the planning staff, to get that done. And doing anything else at this stage will not work, because the reality of Mount Vernon is correct for the people that came in. A lot of developers want to upzone our community. We have to do it right. Whether it be 3rd Street, or 1st Street, or Stevens Avenue, or the connection to Mount Vernon West, up and down. We have a lot of good, interesting proposals coming forward. If we don't do it right, we can really hurt our city. So we have a planner that knows the city well, and we're looking to work with him in the next few months to reset our city. And we're not talking about the single-family home areas, like the wonderful neighborhood Kingsbridge Gardens where Mr. Clark lives. We're not going to affect that. We want that to stay exactly what it is. A very nice neighborhood of people in one-family homes where they can live and everything's great. I'm talking about some of our major corridors, the places that you expect to be developed in a better sense, like New Rochelle is doing, like Yonkers is doing, like White Plains is doing. So we're a city as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that, and I support it fully. So thank you all for coming out. And Mr. Clark, you are very correct. Thank you again, sir. One of the issues that Councilwoman Duarte brought up was their trees. And we do have a tree ordinance that's on the books, but the reality on the backside of that piece of legislation is that we have a lot of trees that need to come down. They need to come down because we're in fear of them falling. And residents are scared about some of these trees. Now, one issue about the trees is that people are tearing down trees because they want to put those solar panels on their roof, and that tree is blocking the solar panel. That is not a reason to tear down a tree, because trees provide shade and it's good for the environment. But there's issues where trees are falling, and we need to be very careful with that. So I've asked this council, when the new council came on board, to please read over the tree ordinance legislation that is pending, and let's sit and discuss it in detail. Because the last thing we want is for somebody to want to tear down a tree, and in order to tear it down, they need to get a permit from the building department. And the building department doesn't have the credible people to certify whether the tree should come down or not. And then we have a storm like we had the other day where it was high winds, and then that tree falls on that house, and the people were saying, Mount Vernon, I've been begging you to tear this tree down, and you took too long to give me the permit to tear it down. So we need to be real about ourselves and be careful what we're doing in the future. And it's going to take this council to sit and discuss it with legal staff and to have a reality of what's going on in the buildings department and the DPW department to make it right. And that's the work that we need to do. I'm very anxious to get that done. That's another piece of legislation that I introduced to the city about 4 years ago, and it isn't passed yet. So as far as the comprehensive plan, we need to be very careful about our traffic and how traffic moves across our city, because traffic is getting worse every single day. And that's because more and more people have cars. And yes, they're driving across our city, which also means that they have to park them someplace. So if we start building a lot of buildings and we don't do it right, we're going to have a serious parking problem across our city. We just can't afford that either. So this planning that we need to do has to be done right. And I think with the planner that we have hired, and we plan on overriding that veto tonight as well, I believe that planner can help us through that process, no different than New Rochelle has done, White Plains has done, Yonkers has done, and other cities have done. So, one more point. People like to talk about the dysfunction that goes on in our city. Is there dysfunction? It may seem like so. The reality is that there are good people trying to fight a lot of bad people in this city. And as soon as we get rid of those bad people, I firmly believe that this city will move forward full speed ahead and be the city that each one of us expect it to be. But right now, we can't move forward fast because we have some bad apples in the bunch, and we have to get rid of those bad apples in order to move forward. So I don't mean to delay things from happening, but you definitely don't want to have something happen with the bad people in the mix. You want them out, and that's what we need to do. So I thank you all. God bless you, and God bless our great city of Mount Vernon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Griffith. Councilman Copeland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. This budget, you know, it has been one of the most difficult budgets in recent memory. And I've been through a lot of budget processes throughout the years. And, you know, I'm torn. I'm torn between the city needs to bring in more money and voting on a flawed budget that I know is flawed, that I know there are things that are missing that should be there. And we've known that. That's really been the difficulty in getting together to have what we actually need. And while I know we can legislate some things as a council, there's some things that we can't legislate. But if we don't, you know, Friday is March 1st, and, you know, and ultimately it will end up hurting our residents if we don't bring in some money, because how can you run trucks? How can you know, people do their jobs? How can the work get done unless we have a budget in place? So, still don't know what I'm gonna do, but hopefully by the time we vote on it, I will. In terms of the zoning, I remember the rezoning, you originally came, I think, in 2006, well, for my time, you may have come prior. I think in 16 you came and made a presentation, and we had some comments that we had submitted back, and we had been waiting to get an attorney, because we needed an attorney to go forward with the process. And I think we just finally passed our attorney, but I think it was vetoed, so we have to override our attorney, so we can have an attorney to move forward to bring in the information. But the best thing is to have the zoning work for both the residents who are there and the businesses that are there, and the proposed new projects coming in. So thank you all for coming. We heard you. We're sorry it's taken so long. It really, but you know, the government is sometimes a slow turning wheel, unfortunately. But you want to make sure it's done right, like my colleagues have said. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Mr. Ritter, for coming. Happy belated birthday to you. And Mr. Clark and Mr. Harriet, both of you always have good insight on things. And I do remember when the person used to go around, I can't remember who the person was, that went around and marked the trees that needed to come down. But there also used to be a project manager that was based out of the planning department. But since that department has kind of withered away, that position is not around anymore. And I think that's a good idea too. Because currently I think depending on the project, they're allocated from the different departments that oversee it. And it would be better to have one funnel to do it. That's a good idea. So thank you both for your insight and your ideas. And keep lifting our city in prayers whomever you pray to. Thank you so much for coming. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Keller, I will be voting tonight to override the veto. And I will tell you why. It's the same reason that some of my colleagues said, and I have been stating for quite some time. We have no time to play any more games. This budget was supposed to be passed back in January 1st. The budget should have been worked on back in November. We have urged the mayor and others to work on this and try to get together. and that just didn't happen. I understand that we went with the controller budget. The controller budget is not a perfect budget, and God knows neither was the mayor's. There is a lot of legislation that we have to do, but it is a responsibility that this council will have to take on. It is additional work that the council will have to take on. And to make sure that the city does not go bankrupt, to make sure that people are not out of work, we have to and will take on that particular task, because there is no way that I can see, or I agree with some of our, many of our council members here, that we can allow employees not to get a paycheck. There is families that depend on this, and we have to take control of a situation that we as a body are put in the middle of, between the controller and the mayor. Several times, and I'm going to tie this into Mr. Harris's statement as well, of people sitting down. When I became council president, the first thing I did was I sat down with the mayor 3 hours before I was sworn in. And I said, we're going to operate totally different. He agreed to that. Brought me some olive branches too. Didn't last long. However, I sent several emails, several letters going back to the controller and the mayor for the three of us to sit down. I've sent one as recently as last week when he cursed me out. I still went down to my office. I sent the letter, had it sent over on dates and times for him to pick whichever one he wants so we can sit down. I spoke to him on Monday when he came to see the council and asked him, when are we going to sit down? And I tried at that point to have him set a meeting or set a time and sit down with the controller to get these things done. You cannot move the city forward respectfully and intelligently unless you sit down together and figure out what is wrong and move the city forward as a team. We were all elected to do a job. We don't have time for personal egos, and we don't have time for the hate game and blame game. Because the lives of the community will be affected by the nonsense. The controller and the mayor have to learn to sit down. They have to sit down, they have to talk. As the middle people, I talk to the controller, which I spoke to earlier today, and I speak to the mayor when I have to. And if I don't get a chance or an opportunity to speak to him, I will write a letter and make sure it is documented. I have still not received a letter back from either party about the sit down, any of the sit downs. And it's several letters. So when you have two parts on each side, the left and the right, and the council smack in the middle, and we have to deal with this mediation, it wears us down. But we know that we have to turn around now and be the adult in the room and to make sure that this budget gets passed. I don't have no doubt in my mind that the mayor is putting himself first before the people. Because if he was not, he would not veto that bill, that legislation, because it just set us back another 7 to 10 days. The controller has to get these bills out now by March 1st. We have to bring money in to avoid bankruptcy. I've been saying this over and over and over for the last 3 months. We are up against the wall. You can see that the school board is having an issue with the controller and everybody else about the money. Mr. Keller read the article in Aloha. Hopefully others read it in Aloha. We are in the danger zone. And we are placed in a position, and I agree with my colleagues, especially Councilwoman Cole. We are stuck in between a rock and a hard place. But we have to make decisions and choices to move the city forward We have to move the agenda forward. And now we have to do the work that we should not have been doing or should not be doing because it should have been done. So we are caught in that position right now. Stefan Ritter, thank you for coming out. Regarding the zoning of the MX1, we have sat down several times in the past. I know we have some new members of the council that probably has not still vetted the MX1, but it has to get done. The problem we have with our city is that things take too long to do. And it makes no sense. I wouldn't even want to build here. It is that bad where I have to work and wait for a permit myself. And as a construction person, I understand pulling a permit between here and any other place is totally different. You know, so you have all of these different problems that we have to deal with, but eventually we're gonna get it done. We have to, you know, work on this situation with the planning department, get that together. We have to work on the comprehensive plan, which we've been trying to get together. We have to fund that and make sure that these things are done. Like Councilman Griffith said, I echo that. Hopefully we will be able to start to work as a team and we can have this accomplished by next year. We can start, you know, moving things along. We have to look at situations where we take the burden off the backs of the homeowners, because the homeowners is the one carrying too much of this tax bill. So, a lot of folks say that we shouldn't develop, but we have to develop because we have to bring in income to offset those who are with the burden of the taxes. And I also want to echo one thing that my colleague said regarding the traffic in this city, and just put an add-on to what Councilman Griffith has said. I believe the traffic in the city is really horrible because we got 4 bridges closed. And we need to focus on that in every part of the branch. I've written about it a couple of times, and I'm disgusted with it, because this would not happen in any other community, anywhere around. And I've made it clear, you know, and I've sent the letter to MTA as well, and I've made sure that they understand that if you live on the south side, okay, versus the north side, you are more likely to die getting to the hospital than the north side, because it takes additional 2 minutes and 53 seconds to get across the bridge. So if you are by 6th Avenue or something like that, you now have to drive all the way around to get to that hospital. And when it is rush hour, everybody is vying to get across the same bridges. We need to come together and we need to fix these bridges. And basically, I can't still understand what's going on, because in 2015, I believe, no, 2014, the governor was here and spoke about these bridges. Our elected officials funded the portion that we have to fund, and it's still not open. So, that is something that I just wanted to add onto that and say, maybe we should start writing letters, doing marching, and maybe having some press conference in front of these bridges, because this is unacceptable. And when they think that it's acceptable, that we allow it to be, and bridges in our neighborhood can be closed for 10 to 15 years, it's crazy and outrageous. And I keep saying the same thing. It will always be acceptable until we stop accepting it. And we need to stop accepting it. So let's add that and figure that out for our traffic piece, which will help our city flow a whole lot better. So at this time, I see Councilwoman Clarkson has appeared, and I am going to give her a moment to speak as well. So, Councilwoman Clarkson.
Good evening. Thank you, Council President Wallace. Good evening to the community. Please accept my apologies for not being here. I had a conflict in my schedule that was unavoidable. So I'm really pleased that you're here. I regret that I have not heard the concerns that you brought to the council this evening. But hopefully we'll have a couple minutes in between the legislative session. And if there's something that anyone would like to share with me, I'll make myself available. So thank you again for being here this evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilwoman Farquharson. However, I don't think we're going to have a couple of minutes. I would like to go straight into the legislation piece at this time. If that is okay and the will of the body. So let's go into referrals at this time. So legislation and public works. Hold on a second, what did you change?
Get your money back in?
Yes, I did. I won your case. They had to settle. You know they were wrong. I will. Yes. Also, I'd like everybody to acknowledge we are here dressed today for African American history and Black History Month. So, just wanted to acknowledge that and also put that on the record.
How you doing? How you been?
Legislation and public works.
Item number 1 and 2 are both.
Excuse me. Excuse me. We're now going into our legislation piece. I could hear you guys speaking back there. The room carries very well. So if you have something to say or you have a discussion that you'd like to do, please step outside and do that because we can hear you up here clearly. We're going to move forward, please. Just give us a moment. Legislation for public works.
Items number 1 and 2 are called for. Items 8, 9, 10, 14, 22, 24, 28, 29, 31, and 32 for information. Item 35 is called for. Item 36 is on the agenda. Item 37 is called for. Items 41, 42, 43, 46, 47, 48, and 49 are for information, and that concludes number 1.
Thank you, Councilwoman Marcus. Human Resources. Councilwoman Duarte. Councilwoman Marcus, Human Resources.
Thank you, Council President. Item number 7, 21, 23, 27, and 30 are for information. Item 33 is on the agenda. Item 34 is called for. Item 38 is for information. Item 39 is called for. Item 39A is on the agenda. Item 40, 44, and 45 are called for. That ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Public Safety and Code.
Thank you, Mr. President. Number
recess for a 3-minute break. 3 minutes. All right. Thank you. President Brown, do you have anything to read?
Well, we're going to do the roll call first.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, Councilwoman Copeland,
Present.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Present.
Councilwoman Parkinson,
Here.
Councilman Griffith,
President.
Council President Wallace.
Here.
Yes, Mr. President, Honorable Body, I do have a letter that I need to read into the record from the mayor with the explanations. Okay. City Clerk, Controller Reynolds, City Council, City Hall, 1 Roosevelt Square. Veto of the entire board from February 15, 2019, City Council meeting. Dear City Clerk, Controller Reynolds, and City Council. Per the Mount Vernon City Charter, the City Clerk cannot refuse to receive duly noticed and proper informed correspondence. Yet, today, the clerk's office refused to accept my veto letter of an illegal 2019 budget passed by the City Council on Friday, February 15th. For the clerk's office to delay the process of giving the people responsible, accurate 2019 budget they want deserves is wrong. We need the cooperation of the City Clerk's office to follow procedure so that the process can be completed in a just and fair way. My Super Tuesday letter, we have opportunity to make the politically manufactured crisis right now. We can adopt a responsible, accurate budget at 1.95, which includes Memorial Field, DPW yard, and complying with the Clean Water Act. We can get this done today and end the unnecessary drama. The people of Mount Vernon are being held politically hostage. We, the people, and I will not rush through the review of the February 15, 2019 City Council Legislative Board agenda. For these reasons, I have vetoed the board in its entirety, specifically the ordinance authorizing the City Council to retain the firm of Zarins and Steinmetz for land matter uses. The resolution granting an application of One North Fulton Realty LLC for the meanest waiver of the RFM/SC overlay zone building height restriction for 1 North Fulton Avenue. Now, I both vetoed. Thankfully, I have heard from a few council members last night and this morning, and on behalf of the people, we are encouraged that they are showing signs of being ready and willing to be able to return to the table and finish the people's business. With these positive signals, I look forward to meeting with and working with the City Council soon, and we shall change a negative narrative and write a new promising chapter in Mount Vernon's history to accomplish the vision of the magnificent, beautiful city. Respectfully, Richard Thomas. On the board, because of the language in the mayor's veto, it was necessary for the record to be read, the response letter from the clerk's office. Dear Mr. Mayor, veto letter dated February 19th. This office is in receipt of a letter from you dated February 19, 2019. With the cabinet veto of the entire board from the February 2015, 2019 City Council meeting. In your letter, you stated that the clerk's office refused to accept any veto letter of the illegal 2019 budget passed by the City Council on Friday, February 15th. For the clerk's office to delay the processing of giving the people the responsible, accurate 2019 budget they want and deserve is wrong. We need the cooperation of the city clerk's office to follow the procedure so that the process can be completed in a just and fair way, as you have quoted. Mr. Mayor, please be advised that the proper and fair way, per the city charter, Article 5, Section 3.8, reads, procedure after passing of ordinance. The
clerk shall hereupon present the same to the mayor, noting the date of delivery to the mayor. If the mayor approves it, it shall be signed and returned to the clerk, and the ordinance shall thereupon take effect. If he disapproves it, the ordinance, he shall return it to the clerk with his objections, which is the veto letter, stating in writing, and the clerk shall present the same with such objections to the city council at its next regular meeting. It states that you may disapprove in writing, but you also have to return the original ordinance. This was not done. Your letter was returned. Your letter was turned away because it was not complete. It was not complete it was not accompanied by the original ordinance. This action was properly completed, and it was accepted by my staff. When this action was completed properly, it was accepted by my staff. The charter clearly defines what my role and responsibility as clerk and your role as responsibility as mayor is concerning this process. Additionally, I have noticed that your most recent correspondence, which is intended for city council, has been addressed to members of the Board of Estimates and Contracts. I do understand that you have new staff, which we have invited to participate in our referral session to be aware of the process. Very clearly, once again, the charter, Chapter C, Article 5 of the City Council Procedure passed in Section 38 is extremely clear. Again, we'll just read for the record. The clerk shall thereupon present the same to the mayor, noting the date of delivery to the mayor. If the mayor approves it, he shall sign it and return it to the clerk, and the ordinance shall thereupon become effective. If he disapproves it, he shall return it to the clerk with his objections, stating in writing, and the clerk shall present the same with such objections to the city council at its next regular meeting. The reason why, council members, the first document was not received by the mayor's office because we could not present the ordinance to you for exercising your property right, which you are now doing. There's only once the mayor gave us the ordinance to present to you, this body has an option to either vote for or against that. Once we receive that, we are in full compliance according to the charter. We have done that. We are presenting those items to you. Those items were on your February 15th agenda. They were as such. I think you read them all. There were item number 1, which is ordinance adopting the annual estimate for the year 2019. Item number 3, an ordinance authorizing the city council to retain the firm of Zarin and Steinmetz for land use matters. And item number 5, a resolution granting application of One North Fulton Realty LLC for the de minimis waiver of the RFM/SC overlay zone building height restriction for 1 North Fulton Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. Just the reading of the communication, sir.
Thank you, Clerk Brown, but I want you to address one more thing for us. The mayor continues to call this a legal budget. Can you explain that process?
Yes,
And why it's not an illegal budget for the...
Yes, this budget was at a called meeting that the mayor had called on February the 4th. That meeting recessed to February the 5th. Once it recessed to February the 5th, there were 2 documents presented at that meeting. One for 1.93, which was presented by the comptroller, and one for 1.95, which was presented by the mayor. The board voted in favor of the 1.93 document, which was presented by the comptroller. At that time, which we can go back to the record, the mayor did not accept a vote on it at the time. He ultimately succumbed to the time, and when the vote was taken, the vote was the
controller had voted in favor, the council president had voted in favor, and the mayor abstained with an explanation, I'm abstaining to move the process forward. Those were his exact comments, and we do have that on videotape. So once that happened, the budget process did go to the city council. That was a sanctioned call meeting by the mayor. It was a special meeting that he called and that he signed to confirm that he called that meeting. Why this is called an illegal budget, I have no understanding, because the meeting was called, it was sanctioned, it was noticed, business was transacted in a true and proper way according to the way we do business in the city of Mount Vernon. And after the city council received that budget, they inclined had a public hearing, which they are required to do. They allowed the public input, and the city council voted in favor of moving forward on the process of this budget. The mayor then vetoed the budget, and now the budget is now back in front of you to either override his veto or support his veto. That is where we're at this evening.
Thank you, Clerk Brown. I just wanted to make sure that the public is clear on what's happening.
One question, Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, Council.
How many votes do you need to override the veto?
4.
Thank you. Legislation and Public Works.
Thank you, President. I have, actually, I believe this was an item that I need to
Yes, I'm
call.
sorry, you had asked that. It's on the agenda, but you wanted to have that held today.
Yes, I believe we didn't receive all of the responses.
Yes, you're correct.
That's
Correct, yes.
okay.
Yes, you need to hold that. We don't have all the responses.
So I'd like to hold item number 1. Item number 2, I have an ordinance granting permission to the Department of Recreation to co-sponsor with the Mount Vernon Boys and Girls Club the 6th annual Day for Kids Block Party, and permission to the Department of Public Safety to close South 6th Avenue between 4th Street and 5th Street on September 21st, 2019. So moved. Second.
On the question? Hannah, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Human Resources.
Thank you, Council President. I have an ordinance granting permission to the Mount Vernon Youth Bureau's WDA Youth Case Manager to attend New York Workforce Association 2019 Youth Conference, 3/18 to 3/20. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hannah, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have an ordinance granting permission to the Department of Recreation to sponsor some of these concerts and events, accept donations, and hang banners, June to August. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hannah, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye. Public Safety and Codes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have ordinance number 5, an ordinance granting permission for 2 members of the police department to attend the New York TOA conference, April 15th through 19th. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hannah, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have ordinance number 6, an ordinance authorizing the Department of Public Safety to accept a donation from the Friends of the Mount Vernon Animal Shelter. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
question, I'd like to thank the Friends of the Mount Vernon Animal Shelter for the security system. I think that's a great volunteer group. There's been a lot of good work down there at the shelter. Thanks.
Roll call. Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye. Finance and planning.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retain Grassi and Company for the Mount Vernon Urban Renewal Agency outstanding warrants. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Nay.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
No.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have an ordinance authorizing permission to waive interest fees on taxes for property located at 15 Rhinus Drive. So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Farquharson,
Aye.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
I have an ordinance authorizing the city council to approve a land acquisition disposition agreement. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
I have a question. Was my understanding from the last meeting that we had was that some corrections were being made as an updated draft of that and presented or provided to the council?
Yes, it should be.
Yes, we,
in your packet, in your paperwork. I think it was in Councilman Griffith, would you like to answer?
she didn't put it in the caption, but it's in the legislation. It should have been in the caption. I think the last concern was the proper identification of the company that was being considered. It should have been in the caption. We gave it to the law department, but if you look at number 9, you will see the information that was required from this body the last time.
Would you like to, Councilman, would you like to read that into the record? Or are you, Councilwoman, are you okay with the capture?
My concern is that I haven't seen the revised agreement that was revised. It wasn't in the packet. I didn't see it.
Okay. You want to take a look at the, take a minute to just take a look at this particular legislation number 9?
Actually, Mr. President, I'd like to amend the legislation to include the third property that is not in the actual legislation. So I'd like to move the amendment of the legislation to add 29 Weston Parkway in the legislation so that there are a total of 3 lots included in the legislation.
Okay.
So, Mr. Clerk, do I have to?
You need a motion, a second on that?
Was that move?
It did get seconded.
Who seconded?
Who seconded it? I didn't second it. So, was it moved?
You said
He just
Okay.
read it. Did you want to ask that question?
No, he's amending. Don't you have to?
So I'm making a motion to amend the legislation to add an additional property. So now it is that 7 through 11 North Western Parkway, and 25 North Western Parkway, and 29 McQuestion Parkway North is to be added.
29.
We have to vote. We have to vote.
Yes, you
So-
have to vote on the amendment, and you have to vote on its entirety. So is there a second on the amendment? we're voting on the amendment at this point here. Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Fatherson,
No.
Councilman Griffith,
Aye.
Council President Wallace.
Aye.
Now you can vote on its entirety now, as number 9 has been amended. Councilwoman Copeland?
Okay. Don't we have to, doesn't he have to move everything? Because we voted on.
No, he had a motion on the floor. He wanted to amend his motion. So the amendment just was approved, and now you're gonna vote back on the motion in its entirety.
Okay, but. Did we ask on, we did on the question for the actual
Yeah.
legislation?
Yes, you're back on the question, yes.
I thought her question was on the amendment, not on the.
Well, no one has any questions on the amendment, just voted on it.
No, I thought her question was on the amendment and not on the actual legislation. So my question was.
No questions on the actual
Yeah.
legislation.
My question's on the actual legislation.
Okay. Councilwoman Copeland, you have,
So the original request that, thank you, Mr. President. Councilman Griffith, the original legislation that we had at the last meeting that didn't have the fire, it had 3 properties on it, did it not?
I
You
do
know,
not remember what the original legislation looked like. I'm working on the legislation that's before me.
Did you?
no, it did not. It had 2.
So why are you amending it on the floor to include the third? Sorry, Mr. President.
I believe because the 3rd was left out of the legislation.
But it wasn't in the original.
But it's clearly within the latter agreement that is attached.
You have the latter agreement, Councilwoman Markovich? It's,
Sorry. I mean, I think we should check that to see what the original says. Clearly, yeah, okay.
I have the original.
Thank you. Turn your microphone, Council.
I have the original.
Thank you, sir.
And it was always the intent to have 3 properties as part of the lot.
Is it in there? That's not, sorry.
Yes, it is.
we all got the same, packet, correct, Councilman Griffith?
I'm sorry that my memory does not allow me to remember everything.
Okay. Any other questions?
Roll call. Roll call on number 9, Councilwoman Copeland,
Aye.
Councilman Duarte,
I can't find this one, no.
Councilwoman Parkinson,
No.
Councilman Griffith, Council President Wallace.
Aye.
Mr. Clerk, I have a veto override. I have an ordinance adopting the annual estimate for 2000. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll repeat. Mr. Clerk, I have a veto override. I have an ordinance adopting the annual estimate for year 2019. So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So on the question, in terms of process, thank you, Mr. President. So it needs 4 votes for override, and if there are 3 votes, then what happens?
Well, it doesn't pass, I mean, you can bring it back for another consideration, because the budget has financial implications, you're gonna need 4 votes ultimately. You can bring it back one more time, otherwise you have to introduce another level of rules.
And let me add to that. To have the 3 votes on it is to have another vote or reconsider at a next council public meeting, not a special. So that means in another 2 weeks, we will revisit it. And at that point, I think we may have a problem, but I thought I'd just add that. Any other questions?
to be clear, you're saying that if this does not pass now, that you cannot have a special?
No,
No.
that will be held at a
13th of
regular
March.
council meeting, which will be about March 15th or somewhere around there. And, well, I'm not even gonna say it. Roll call?
Councilwoman Copeland?
Oh.
Was that finished?
Yeah. There's been a lot of issues with the process, I recognize that, but I still, throughout this whole process, it really has been a series of, what I call a theme of brinkmanship and fear mongering, and that's where I feel that we now been placed in a position, and that really has resulted in adopting a fundamentally flawed budget that, as I stated earlier, raises taxes, but it does not fund our top priorities. I cannot consciously raise the taxes on the citizens of this city or a budget that doesn't fund the top priorities that will have greater implications on the fiscal health of the city in the future and on the taxpayers. So that nothing has changed with regards to the budget. Updates or changes haven't been suggested or recommended. And at this moment, my position remains the same.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilwoman Copeland?
You can pass and come back.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte?
Nay.
Councilwoman Parkinson?
Aye.
Councilman Griffith?
Aye.
Council President Wells?
Aye.
Shame on you, Mr. Duarte.
I have the ordinance authorizing the city council. President. I'm another veto override. I have an ordinance authorizing the city council to review the firm, examine the contents of land use matters. So moved.
No, she's going to explain it's a generalization.
Shut up.
Second.
Oh, second, I'm sorry.
Please quiet, we're almost done.
I'm sorry, there's a lot of noise. You okay?
So we got that one through. There was a second reading. Yeah, but
You okay, Councilman Griffith? You okay with that?
yes, and it was a second by Councilwoman Copeland?
Yes.
Okay. On the question?
On the question, I think during the vote, I had requested that the legislation be a little more specific, to which I would be supportive in its current state.
it's still the same. I don't understand what kind of clarity is needed, because one, the first time we had spoke about this on the record, we were wondering where the money came from. We had explained that particular procedure. This is not a cost to the city at all. This is developers who are doing their project throughout the city that pay money into a fund so that it can fund the land use attorneys, and that moves the process forward. I don't understand why, or I just don't get it. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. I just felt that, I thought, oh, first of all, we're on the record. I mean, on the question, yes. So I just had a question, because I just didn't understand it, and I just wanted clarity for myself, because I thought it was so. All right, Councilman Griffin, you have something to say?
Yes.
Please.
It is unfortunate because this passed the city council. The only reason it is back is because the mayor vetoed the entire board for that day. Zarin and Steinmetz is probably one of the best planning attorneys in the county. He's very well known, and he knows the city extremely well, and his staff. Mount Vernon deserves the best. Zarin and Steinmetz is one of the best attorneys that you can get. And with all of the spot zone applications that are in place, we need somebody to coordinate them all so that we have a comprehensive city. So the intent of bringing in Steinmetz, Zarin and Steinmetz, to do this work is to help us connect these individualized zones. It is what's needed. It's what's needed to have a comprehensive plan. It's what's needed to do a comprehensive traffic plan. It's what's needed to do a comprehensive parking plan. It's what's needed to see what our skyline is going to look like. It's what's needed to upbuild some of the office buildings that we have that we know the landowners have desires to turn them into some residential. The impact for Mount Vernon, getting an attorney involved in us so that we can move forward, is critical. We are not going to have a comprehensive plan, and we're going to have to turn away a lot of these developers because there's too many micro deals going on. We need somebody to work with us to get it done. Zarin and Steinmetz knows this city. He's worked with us before. So at this time, this council needs 4 votes in order to move this forward. We were fine with 3 votes twice, but at this stage, we need 4 votes. If this does not pass, ladies and gentlemen, Mount Vernon is going to be dead in the water for probably another year. Let's be clear, because a lot of land use attorneys won't work with us. So we're trying to move the city forward. We have developers that are trying to work with us to do what's right for this city, and we need a plan to get it done. And we've recruited the best. So I think council members are going to have to be very conscious about their reasons for not voting for this to move forward. And at times when you need that extra vote, special consideration needs to be made. There can't be a lightweight hold-up for why you're not approving for things moving forward. We need 4 votes tonight. And if we don't get the 4 votes, we're right back to square one. So I'm definitely voting for this. This is what we've been waiting for. And it's here before us now. Thank you.
Mr. President, so Mr. President, I'm just saying that this legislation is vague. And at this time, my vote is a no. And I'm thinking that after all that articulation by Councilman Griffith, that some of that should be reflected in this, so that it becomes a part of the permanent record and not just a part of, something he just said, it's recorded there, but it becomes a part of the legislation, that it should be said what it is that Zarin and Steinmetz will be focused on. I think it is only fair that that be reflected in the legislation. So it could say some of the things and other matters, right?
Unfortunately, it's a bigger override, so we can't change.
Yes, and I understand what you're saying, Councilwoman Parkinson. However, that whole situation wouldn't be open because as additional projects come for pass through the city with other developers, We are not going to go back and legislate every single time to try to figure it out.
And that's why I could say, and other matters.
It is not a cost to the city at all. It is not a cost to the city at all. The developers put the money, as we explained, and
I just want to make it very clear, and what is holding me up in supporting this legislation is that we initially met with Vernon and discussed a specific project. And the legislation here is more general, it's beyond that project. And that difference, to me, is a substantial difference in our discussion. So for you to ask me to vote on legislation when this was not the original discussion or the original intent, that is what, that discrepancy is what is troublesome to me. I understand what Councilman Vernon is stating, but that still doesn't change the fact that whether there are firms that will or will not work with us, it doesn't also excuse us from still following our policies and procedures for procuring these types of services.
Mr. President?
Councilwoman Duarte, when we bring in attorneys, it's our process. That's not how, we bring in attorneys, different attorneys, to represent us on different issues. That's not an issue of procurement. It's our policy as a council when we need counsel for whatever it is. We interview different people and then we vote on who we think is the best. That's our process, right?
So in this matter, do you feel that, or is it your understanding that we have fulfilled that?
Vernon is the best in this county, maybe the Hudson Valley, perhaps the state. They're called on to go travel all around the state to talk about land use issues. They have landmark legislation, that's been
Well,
passed.
I don't question the competency of this firm. It's not necessarily my concern. My focus is on the process, and that is what where I find discrepancy. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm taking everything into consideration. I'm hearing all my colleagues. I'm also hearing the local residents who are here tonight and who have expressed their support, especially for those of our local residents who are invested into our community. And for that consideration only, I'll change my vote.
Good. Can you explain on the record how the escrow works?
No, it wasn't for you, it's for some peers.
But it does say right here that it's coming out of the contract and services. Isn't that what it says in the legislation? Isn't that what it says in the legislation? Read it.
Yes.
Escrow accounts.
No, I don't want an explanation about escrow accounts. Thank you very much, I understand.
Excuse me, Councilman, I asked them to put it on the record.
Okay.
Generally when the council hire these attorneys for these projects, they do set up an escrow account. And the reason why we're speaking on it, because generally the bills are sent to the clerk's office. We will then write a voucher. That voucher will be sent down to the controller after the account is established. And I believe one of the contractors, one of the developers mentioned tonight, that they have money in the account, which they do. And once we get a bill for some services that have been done, either whether it's by the attorney or the down, if I get some vouchers, that's not enough money, I will contact the developers and say, we need another $25,000, we need another $50,000 before we can proceed, and then they will send that money in and we will replenish the account. So just for information purposes, the developers pay that bill in full.
A question, Mr. President? So can you put for the record what the account code is, where that money is typically deposited?
Yes, the codes are generally made up upon either legislation, once we give the authorization, the comptroller will give us a code.
Okay, so this
So she establishes the account.
right. So this legislation says account code for the aforesaid relevant budget code A1010.405 outside contracted services. So is that incorrect?
I can't verify that right now if it's correct or not correct. I would assume that the account number is there. This is basically not a new account. This is an ongoing account. It might be some new partners, but the account was previously established maybe for at least 4 or 5 years.
And that account is titled outside contract services. Is that what it's titled?
Oh, no.
Oh, because that's what the legislation says.
Thank you.
That is a point of clarification, though, because how has it typically been done? When the previous firm was retained, does the legislation also read outside contracted services?
No.
So then the money is deposited in escrow.
Yeah, it's basically the authorization of the escrow establishment.
Okay, again, so is this language not correct?
Okay, section 2, is that what you're talking about? Outside legal services? Section 3, okay. Funds for it said available budget code, outside contract services. That is not correct.
Okay.
Because the funds are not coming from a budgetary account. The funds are coming from, this is actually coming from city council. That 1010 is the city council budget code. So that is a mistake. I don't know, we didn't, I don't know, the letter said that. I don't know why it's there, maybe it's a mistake, but I can confirm that that's a mistake. The funds should be, this letter should indicate that it is for a escrow account to be established by the controller's office. There are several times you pass legislation on numerous times. And if there's a concern like this, you simply just, at your next meeting, amending legislation adopted on today's date, and you correct it at that time. Everything else is correct. All you have to do is correct number 3. Funds for affordable are available and monies provided by the applicant and to be established in the next quarter. Actually, the account is already established, really.
So, Clerk Brown,
This account has been established.
the code is right, but the wording is wrong.
No, the code is wrong. The code is wrong.
So that can be amended
Yes.
after the fact to make sure that it's just done right.
Yes.
So then why are we just moving a piece of legislation that has it corrected? Why do we need to override this?
Because we're going to send a corrected piece of legislation back to the mayor for him to veto the same thing again, so it can arrive back to us again, so we can override it again. But we should just fix it ourselves. We've been doing a lot of the work ourselves. We might as well continue to do it. It's not not gonna hurt us to do the paperwork and do the work, to move the city forward, and to move these things forward.
This legislation, Mr. President, has been presented by Councilman Griffin. Just like he just amended the previous legislation, he can do that also right now if he so chooses.
And not because it's a old, it's only because it's a veto override. But,
If I may.
yes,
It
please.
is not the intent of this council to expend our outside contracted services for this vendor. This vendor will come in, we will have a consultation, we will see what we're going to do, we will set up the roadmaps, and then we will amend this legislation that had to come out of an escrow account from the individual entities that are applying for work to be done. It's no different than we've done for any other escrow agreement with our planning attorneys. So yes, this is a placeholder for right now, but this will be amended. I have no intention of paying one dime for the work to be done for the benefit of the contractors that want to build in the city. It will be amended. I will not expend one dime from this outside contracted services line. It will be corrected. But what we need to do is hire this firm to get them in for a consultation. We'll lay down what our issues are, and then we'll begin to discuss how we combat those issues. It's as simple as that. So it is my recommendation that we pass this firm, we begin to have discussions with them, we tell them what zones we have, what issues we have, which developments we want to move forward. We'll get a consultation back, and then we'll set the escrow agreements and set the path on having our community well planned. That is the intent of this legislation.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Griffin. Thank you.
President, so if we are going to make that amendment to correct that language, could we also amend it to be a little more explicit, to reflect exactly what you stated, Councilman Griffin?
Yes, once the consultation happens, and then we decide what the scope of what our work is going to be, yes, we can put that in the amended legislation to say that the budget line will come from here, and that the scope will now be this. We will define what the scope is. And right now, we're not even sure how we want to accumulate all of these applications that are before us. That has to go after we have a consultation with the planner. That's the intent of it.
Okay, so let me just be clear.
Hold on. Excuse me. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Because initially, what was holding up the current project that this firm was originally retained for was to do the secret review on the rezoning, the MX1 rezoning. Is that right? Wasn't that?
That was the
original intent?
That was the pending application, whereas we needed a land use attorney. Correct.
So my understanding was that this attorney would be assisting with all the secret reviews.
In the legal capacity, correct.
But in your statement earlier, you're saying that we still need to define the scope. So you're saying the scope would be broader than that?
It's possible. Once we go to consultation and we see what else there is, we may be able to expand the scope. Absolutely. But right now, this is a very vanilla piece of legislation trying to implement our land use matters. That's what it says.
So the intent of this legislation is simply to allow us to have an initial consultation with the firm, and then we will amend the legislation.
If that is what comes out of our discussion with the firm and all of the planning uses that we need, yes, that there may be new additional legislation that speaks to exactly that. Absolutely. And it would have to come back to this council. This firm would then speak to this council as to what you think should happen, and we'll start to form what needs to be done. The reason for hiring the attorney is to figure out what the form needs to be going forward, whether it be one application or a connected application. Correct. But we don't know that until we engage the firm to begin discussions.
Are you comfortable with that, Councilman?
I'll be honest, what I'm not comfortable with is, you know, I also don't want to get so hung up on the process that I inadvertently end up hurting our local residents more than helping them. So I want to, I'm being very careful and deliberative in how I'm trying to approach it, because, like I said earlier, I want to support and encourage our local residents who are willing to put up their funds and invest in our community. And so for Mr. Sully and that group, I want to make sure that you understand that my position and what I want to accomplish here. The process is set in place for a reason. It is intended to protect all of us, to protect the residents and to protect, to define a framework for the government that we are doing investment and for you. The fact that this process is what I'm not comfortable with, and that, you know, that is what's holding me back and impeding from moving this forward.
Councilwoman, the problem with the process is that we're not doing anything. And what is good about this is that we're moving forward. We're bringing that to the table, the attorney that is required to move the NX1 zone forward and anything else. If this attorney says, yes, we're good in the NX1 zone, and this council feels that we're good moving forward in the NX1 zone separately, we go to that. But we need to hire the firm in order to move forward with NX1. They have expended $250,000 and waited 5 years, and they've received nothing. We're looking to hire the firm so that we can complete that process.
Thank you.
Roll call on number 11. Councilwoman Copeland.
Aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parkinson.
No.
Councilman Griffith.
Aye.
Council President Wallace. Aye.
Mr. President, I am the final need to override of the evening. I have a resolution granting application of One North Fulton Realty LLC for a de minimis waiver of the.
Excuse me, Councilman. Please keep quiet. We have one last piece of legislation. If you have to speak or anything, you can step outside and do that. But we can hear you and we cannot hear the councilman speak.
Would you like me to?
Yes, please start from the beginning. Thank you.
Item 12, I have a resolution granting application of One North Fulton Realty LLC for a de minimis waiver of the RMF-SC overlay zone building height restriction for 1 North Fulton Avenue, Mount Vernon. So moved.
Second.
Have a question? Hear none, roll call. Councilwoman Copeland.
This is only a 3 feet increase. You're supposed to say that. 3 feet, that's it.
And 3 feet is just the parapet.
3 feet is just the parapet.
But to stop people from falling off the roof.
Aye, I said aye.
Councilwoman Duarte.
Aye.
Councilwoman Parkinson.
Aye.
Councilman Griffith.
Aye.
Council President Wallace. Aye. At this time, this completes our agenda. Is there anything that anyone needs to say before we pull up? Okay, thank you. I now call this session motion to adjourn. You would entertain a motion? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Oh, Deborah Reynolds.
Hold on. Excuse me, we're not done yet. We're not done. We gotta get a roll call, please. It's 1 minute. Councilwoman Copeland,
Abstain. Just kidding.
Councilwoman Duarte,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parkinson,
Aye.